Please welcome to the stage WWD's Digital Director, Sophia Chabbott, accompanied by Clare O'Connor, Editorial Director at Bumble, and Maria Hatzistefanis, CEO and founder of Rodial.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here today. So I could not be prouder to be here with two of the most inspiring women I have met in this industry, and we've met a lot. And I think that you're going to be really inspired by them too. So I want, they'll introduce themselves to you and their roles. So Claire, tell us a little bit about Bumble and your role there.
Sure. I just want to start by saying, as you can tell, I knew they were coming wearing black today, so this is my little effort to break it up. You're welcome.
We're actually wearing the same skirt.
Yeah,
Beyond Lee, female designer.
I'm Clare O'Connor, and I spent many, many years as a journalist at Forbes, the business magazine and website, covering women entrepreneurs and workplace equality, and a few other beats before that, including fashion and e-commerce. I've recently started, just about over a month ago, as the first ever editorial director at Bumble, which is the Women First networking platform. I hope a lot of you have it on your phones. If not, go ahead and download that app as we speak. But so far, so good. It's been really, really exciting to go from a kind of legacy media brand to a startup run entirely by young women. My CEO is 28 years old, which is wild. Yeah, but so glad to be here, and thank you for having me.
You're so very welcome. And Maria, you also had your start in journalism.
Yes, so I was always passionate about fashion and beauty, and I started with a first job as a beauty writer. I did that for a little bit. I then moved to New York to do an MBA, and I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. And I ended up in banking just because it was glamorous at the time, it was paying well, so I thought, yeah, I may as well do it. A little while later, I got fired from my job in banking, and that was the best ever thing that happened to me. I didn't realize it at the time, but it made me really think of who I wanted to be and what I wanted to follow in my life, my dreams, my passion. And that's when I decided to start my business, Rodial Skincare. It has been around for 18 years, and we also launched a millennial range called Nip and Fab. And I'm also launching my new book this week in the US, which is called How to Be an Overnight Success.
In 24 hours? Oh, overnight, sorry, how to be an overnight.
How to be an overnight success, yes.
So tell us a little bit about how you were fired, and you took that. Today is really about doers who are doing things against all odds and using connections digitally or, in other ways to really pursue their dreams and create amazing businesses. So tell us, with Rodial, how you initially, you told me a little story about a blush after you got fired.
Yeah, so that was actually when I was 14 years old. I was born and raised in a tiny island back in Greece, where I'm from. And we didn't even have a beauty shop at the time. That was a long time ago. And I was with a girlfriend of mine. We were getting ready to go out, and we needed a bit of color, and there was no blush available at the time. So I had a tin of the old-fashioned Nivea cream. I don't know if you guys are millennials. I don't know if you're familiar with Nivea in the tin. I mixed it up with some lipstick, and I came up with the first ever blush. And that was a light bulb moment, and I realized I just love beauty. I love putting things together, and that led me into a career in beauty later on.
Amazing. And then one of the things that I think we can all talk about, you told me that you spend 3 hours a day on Instagram. You have 1 million followers. Tell us a little bit about that.
I started the Mrs. Rodial account very organically 5 years ago. And I went for about 10 followers, which were my friends and family mostly, and then begging people to follow me. And I've grew the base with just telling people what is going on my daily life. There was no agenda. There was no plan to sell product. It was, I'm creating a new product. I'm at the factory. I'm doing a shoot. I'm doing a press event. And I think there was a lot of interest for people to see what is going on behind the scenes, and also sharing my personal passions, whether it's the shoe of the season that I'm passionate about and I can't find. And it was all very organic, and I think that really resonated with with everyone out there, and I've made friends on Instagram, I've made connections, and I do spend between 1 and 3 hours a day engaging every single day and getting to know people and doing my research, and I'm on Instagram all the time, basically.
And that power of, it's amazing, that power of connection also helped spur the idea for Bumble Biz. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I'm first going to say I do not have 1 million followers on Instagram. Right now, you can follow CLARE_OC. Thank you. I promise good content, everybody. So Bumble started out as, I hope a lot of you know, as purely a dating app. The founder, Whitney Wolfe Herd, just thought it wasn't right that the kind of culture had, men being the aggressor online or sliding into your DMs or however Gen Z says it. I don't know, that might make me sound very old. But so the idea of sort of women first, women making the first move. And it was such a hit that we thought, why shouldn't we be making the first move in all areas of our lives? And I'm not going to name any names, but there are some career sort of networking platforms out there that can be a bit like the Wild Wild West. Like you open your inbox and there's all sorts of crazy unsolicited messages. And we thought that women should not have to deal with that if they just want to network professionally. So Bumble Biz is our most recent vertical. We also have Bumble BFF, which is a platonic friendship finding vertical, and it's such fun. Imagine you're sort of a grad student, which maybe a lot of you are, moving to a new city. You don't really know anybody, but you're dying for someone to watch Game of Thrones with and have a glass of wine. That's what, right? Everybody. That's what BFF is for. And Bumble Biz is you're looking for an internship, or maybe you're just looking to meet people in your industry, get together for coffee and kind of swap ideas. And it's gone down really well so far.
And it's so interesting because there are so many ways to reach out today, but you've found a lot of success with people connecting in this way. And it's been, I think, how many members did you say you had?
Bumble has, every time I quote a number, it's wrong because it goes up so quickly. But I believe we have 26 million active users on the platform.
It's amazing.
26 million users on the platform, yeah, okay.
Wow. So we have a lot of, I think, students in the audience. This question is to both of you. What ways are the best ways to reach out to either somebody that you're inspired by, somebody you want to work for, somebody you want to collaborate with? What are the best ways to connect?
I can speak as someone who has always received a lot of emails, especially when I was at Forbes for many years writing about women entrepreneurs. I would get emails from aspiring entrepreneurs who wanted to know more about how to start a business. And I was like, honey, if I knew, I would not be writing about it. I would be doing it. I did not say that. I said, let's have a coffee. I think that professional people are flattered by, invitations to get together, or I think there are ways to do it, though. I think the email saying, can we meet for coffee and can I pick your brain is like, I think you should have a specific question in mind or a specific goal for the meeting, if it is indeed a meeting, or a specific question. I think something vague, like, I really love your work and want to know more about what you do is sort of, there was only so many hours in the day. So I think having a specific question or goal is a really kind of good way to look at it. And just to keep it brief and to know that, everyone has a certain amount of hours in the day, and we're trying not to take our cell phones to bed with us.
And Maria, you're constantly communicating with your clients, your customers, your buyers digitally. Do you have any advice for the audience on the best ways to connect?
I would say when you reach out to a brand, let's say, and we do get a lot of emails, whether from bloggers or people who want to work for the business, be very specific about what you can bring on the table. Sometimes we get emails from people saying, oh, I'd love to work at Rodial, and that would help my career, and it would be a great step for me to start my business in a few years. This is not the way to approach a company. We don't want to know that someone will come in, learn everything, and 2 years later, copy us somewhere else. It's about, this is what I can do, this is what I can bring on the table. Be very honest about your skills, and everyone has a lot to bring on. And what we want to hear as a business, whether you're a blogger or a future employee, is what you can bring us on the table that we don't have.
And they're listening. They're listening. Both of your businesses are very focused on female empowerment. How has the women's movement affected the way you do business and possibly kind of, the way you do business? And can you explain a little bit how, if so?
I can start with that one. I think Bumble was founded to make it safer and easier, first of all, for women to date online, but now to make friends and to network too. So I think we were a little bit ahead of the curve there in terms of the movement we're seeing right now with Me Too and Time's Up and the news cycle. That Bumble was initially created with that in mind. So we're really hopeful that everyone is having a safe experience. And if they're not, then we want you to reach out to us. Like, we take it very seriously. We don't stand for any bad behavior on our platform. Men will be respectful or they'll be kicked off. There's no hate speech. We've been very open about that.
You're monitoring all that.
We're not, but we're monitoring hate speech, that's for sure. But if there's an issue, we want to hear about it. Sometimes, we see on Twitter, someone saying @Bumble and showing a screenshot, and we will go and we'll fix that. So bring it to our attention. We want to make sure that everyone is having the safest experience possible.
Great. And how about for Rodial?
As a female entrepreneur, I'm always inspired by other strong women. And at all times, I want to empower them. I want to mentor young women. And I think everything needs to start from home. So what I have been doing, first of all, we are a very much female-oriented company just because of the subject of beauty that attracts more women. But my personal aim is to empower, first, all the women around me, make sure they have the direction, they have the tools, and they have my faith to do the job as best as they can. And that's all I can do, and start from my business, and hopefully that will have a ripple effect. And they will do the same in our business and next career step, and that will make the world a better place.
Amen. And so your new book is about being an overnight success. What's some advice that you wish you had when you first started 18 years ago?
When I started, I was worried every single day whether my business would survive another day, another week. I was worrying too much. And I would go back and say to myself, do not sweat the small stuff. Just focus on the big picture and believe in yourself. I was doubting myself the first few years while I was doing the right thing, whether this business was going to be around for a while. And I wish I believed a bit more in myself those early days. So that's what I would do.
And Claire, I think it's so fascinating that at Forbes you really pushed for your last beat. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how that developed?
Yeah, sure.
And how that developed really into a job for you
It did,
at Bumble.
yeah. I started out at Forbes covering the wealth beat, which is a ridiculous-sounding job title. Wealth reporter was one. So basically digging around in the footnotes of SEC filings, trying to see if Jeff Bezos had sold, donated some of his shares to his nonprofit, that kind of thing, for the Forbes 400 and Forbes billionaires lists. That was fun. I got to, sort of snoop around in billionaires' business.
What's that like?
Well, Donald Trump was one of my responsibilities, so the less said about that, possibly the better. But it was exciting. It was definitely exciting. And then I went on to cover retail and e-commerce, which was wonderful. There was a lot of time spent in Bentonville, Arkansas, covering Walmart, which was like maybe not what I had in mind when I said, yes, I'm going to write about retail and e-commerce. And then after a few years, I found myself just being really excited by and interested in women entrepreneurs who had started retail and e-commerce businesses, there's a lot of them out there. You hear about all the time, sort of Emily Weiss, who started Glossier, which started out again as a website. Young women just really killing it. So I went to my head of product at the time, and I said, listen, I find myself just gravitating to these stories anyway. And it was sort of the zeitgeist of empowering women was just sort of starting to pick up, especially women in Silicon Valley, as the power balance is still so off there. So I said, can I please change my beat from retail and e-commerce to women entrepreneurs and workplace equality? It took a couple of, meetings to iron it out, but it worked out. And then my last cover story ever for Forbes was a 28-year-old CEO of Bumble called Whitney Wolfe Herd. If you Google Forbes Bumble, you can read the story. It'll hopefully be the top of SEO, or I'll have some concerns. It's that sort of classic cliched tale of journalist and subject falling in love and deciding that they need to work together, basically. So that's how I ended up at Bumble, and I'm pretty new, but I'm coming in sort of knowing all about the brand and the values, having spent so much time sort of following Whitney around essentially for weeks while I was reporting that cover story. So, yeah.
And it's so interesting because Bumble really is on the business side, known for kind of looking at, the whole person as the employee. And so, you were a reporter for years, and now it's a very different role. What would you suggest to the audience of, maybe they're in a particular field or career or whatever, they have a certain amount of experience in one area, but really they want to pursue something else. How would you recommend they go about that?
Well, I think so many skills are transferable. I just think that for any kind of job, just making it really clear in your cover letter and on your resume, what that core skill is, whether you're really numerate, whether you are an excellent sewer, maybe in the case of some of you. And you can even, be open in the cover letter. You can say, I know I'm coming from a different industry, but here's why I think this particular set of skills will suit me really well at your company and in this new industry. Just spell it out, I think folks will welcome that kind of transparency. And then for Maria, when you're how many employees do you have at Rodial?
150.
And so what kinds of employees are you looking for? What are you looking for in them?
I'm looking for passion, I'm looking for loyalty, and I'm looking for people who can be tough and go through the tough times together with me and see the big vision.
That's great. And then can you tell us a little bit, so you were saying you were very, very early onto Instagram and that it was a very kind of authentic approach to the platform early on before it kind of changed. And then there you discovered that Kylie Jenner years ago liked one of your products. Can you talk to that a little bit?
Yes, so 3 years ago, Kylie got hold of one of our Nip and Fab products called glycolic pads. She put a picture on Instagram saying how much she loved them. And our Instagram following of the Nip and Fab account went from 10,000 followers to 50,000 followers within a few days. We were inundated with calls, and people wanted to find out more about Nip and Fab, where you can buy the brand. And that made me think, this is a celebrity who was in Yvonne, 17 years old at the time. She was very young, before she even got any beauty contract. This is a celebrity who's talking about our products, and they resonate with her audience. And so we set up a meeting with her managers, and we sat down and we made her a brand ambassador for Nip and Fab. We worked with her a couple of times. We did 2 campaigns. And she brought a lot of attention and excitement to the brand, and it was a very successful partnership.
How do you know, so many brands are doing partnerships with influencers or celebrities. How do you know when it's the right fit? This is to either of you.
I'll let you take that one first.
You don't.
That's fair. That's fair.
Wow, I like a short, succinct answer.
So it's a risk.
It is a risk. And you just have to go with it. You'll try it. And there is no guarantee whatsoever that this collaboration will work.
So you're going with your gut.
You go with your gut.
And Bumble has a lot of celebrity partners and affiliations.
We do, and I think, there is obviously an element of trial and error, as you say. But I think you can look at someone's social media history and kind of have an idea if there'd be a fit for the brand. But of course, a lot of these people are very young. You'd never know if they're going to maybe exhibit some behaviors along the line that's not going to be a fit, but that's why contracts aren't forever.
And can you tell us about some of the partners that you've got at Bumble? I feel like, oh goodness, sisters.
Yes. So we have 2 wonderful
foster sisters.
Yes,
excuse me,
it's
sorry.
okay. It's still early on a Friday, my friend.
More coffee.
Erin and Sarah Foster, also very funny Instagram follows, highly recommended. 2 sisters out in LA, and they are creative directors for Bumble Biz. And what they're doing right now is we have Bumble, getting to know Bumble IRL. I sound so old when I say all these things, it's so bad. We have a Hive in LA. We basically have taken over some retail space, painted it yellow. It's very, very Bumble, very on brand. If you go over to Bumble's Instagram, you can probably see some of it over there. So the Foster sisters are currently with their laptops and their coffee working from the Hive, and anyone who has Bumble on their phone can show it, get in for free, co-work there, have some coffee, have a drink, meet with your BFF or biz date in real life in a space that's kind of curated and safe.
And you've had hives in New York before. Tell us about...
I personally have never had hives.
Oh, no hives.
I'm kidding. We have had a hive in LA. We've had a hive in New York. And I think they'll be popping up everywhere, yeah.
Very cool. And how have they been really popular in terms of people just walking in, or you've done a lot of panels?
Yeah, we do lots of events. I'm going to be out there in late March. If anyone's going to be in LA, doing some events with women venture capitalists. I'm very passionate about making sure that young women have role models in the investment community. It's still few and far between. But yeah, all you have to do is show up. I should know the address on the top of my head. I do not. Go onto Bumble's app and you'll see it, or on our website. It's on Melrose. And yeah, show the app and just get in.
What should a person look for in finding a role model, or cultivating a role model?
That is a great question. Why don't you take that one first?
No pressure.
Well, you can get motivation and find role models everywhere these days. I personally am inspired by other dynamic and successful women. I look out for them, find interviews. I cut off pages of magazines, the few left. I'm on Instagram all the time and just see everyday people who inspire me. I think that there's a wide variety of role models in different industries and at different levels that we can get inspiration from. There's so much information out there, and we're very lucky.
That's great. Great. So if we could leave everyone with a thought, how do you define success in a couple of words?
Wow. I think success is doing what you set out to do, however long it takes you. Don't be intimidated by all these 20 under 20, 30 under 30, whatever, 15 under 15. I'm sure there is one lists. Everyone has their own path. Slow but sure, you'll do it.
And Maria?
I have 3 tips and advice for everyone here and what has helped me along the way, which are all covered in my book. The first piece of advice is be focused on your plan, but always have a plan B to get there. My second piece of advice is don't be afraid to make mistakes, because the biggest rewards will come from the biggest risks that you take. And my third piece of advice, because we are in the beauty industry, is always look your best. That will make you feel confident, and that will be the way for you to achieve your goals.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
I think we have some time for some questions from the audience. Are there any questions? Go for it. I think there's a mic coming your way.
Hi. So Claire, you mentioned that people were like screenshotting bad behavior on Bumble and putting it on like Twitter and stuff. I'm just wondering how you turn something like that into a positive brand experience for Bumble.
Well, I don't want to imply that it's all the time, that there's some sort of like spate of bad behavior. It's very rare. I think what we do is we're transparent. We will go on Twitter and respond to whoever calls out this kind of behavior, and ask them to explain what's happened. And then when we go about fixing it, we will say what happened transparently on Twitter. Usually, I think that it's important that people know that this is what we're doing. We take it very seriously. If people, and not just men, if anyone is disrespectful or hateful on our platform, that's just not welcome. So we just want to make that clear in a public forum.
Any more questions?
Hi, okay, so this is for Maria. So you say that you're on Instagram a lot and you're posting constantly, but how do you kind of filter, or maybe not filter, but how do you differentiate your content versus kind of all the other content that's out there?
That is a very good question. I don't plan my content. I think that a lot of the accounts that we see out there that tend to be the same, you expect the same thing. There's going to be 4 pictures, and this has been written in books as well. The first picture is the coffee of the day. The second one is the shoe. The third is the outfit, and the fourth is the drinks of the day. And I feel, this was a formula that was interesting 5 years ago, and I think there's a new trend right now on Instagram of showing the reality of what is going on. I think some of the over-processed and stylized pictures, they are a little bit boring and people want to see the reality. So I would sit down and think, for myself, am I a blogger? Do I want to post fashion all the time? Not really. I do love fashion, but I want to share with everyone if I'm doing a press event or a speech or anything that's a little bit different from everyone else. So everyone needs to think, how am I different to all the other people on Instagram out there? And rather than try to adhere to a certain mold, do your own thing and be different and celebrate that.
So no calendar, no social calendar for Instagram. Wow. That's pretty impressive.
My view.
Well
Thank
done.
you.
Any more questions?
Hi, guys. Claire, I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about how your article at Forbes transitioned into a job at Bumble.
Sure. Well, I think it was kismet, really, when I first met the CEO of Bumble, Whitney Wolfhard, 2 years ago when she was 26, which is just even wild to say it out loud, so young. I sort of just knew she was going to be someone to keep an eye on. I had just started writing about women entrepreneurs. Bumble was quite new, but I thought, like, okay, I need to check back in with this one. So finally, she relented and let me write a profile, and it just so happened that it got the cover. And I think just in the course of reporting that story, spending time with her at her home in Austin, at the office in Austin, which is where Bumble's headquarters is, spending time with her here in New York, getting to know the brand and really thinking that the time is now for the kind of values that Bumble holds dear. Keeping women safe, letting women make the first move in all parts of their life. It just really spoke to me. And I thought that I could make more of a difference going to work with her there. So about a month or two after that story, we were just on the phone. And it just sort of, the conversation just evolved to a job offer. As like all casual convos do. No, it was, I feel very lucky. And I think it was just sort of meant to be, really.
Any more questions?
Hi, this is kind of for both of you. First of all, I just want to thank you guys for coming today. It was really nice to hear you speak. What do you think, I mean, all of us are millennials here, and we kind of look at Instagram and social media in a certain way. How do you think that Gen Z is going to take it in the next few years? How are they going to change how we look at social media, I guess?
Ooh, I think that might be one for you.
Who knows? I mean, there's new platforms every day. There's Snapchat came up one day, and then we all thought Snapchat is the future, and then Instagram stories came up, and then everyone moved from Snapchat to Instagram stories. There's so much movement into the different platforms out there. I have two boys. They're 13 and 15 years old, and they're on YouTube all the time. And YouTube is their life, the way that TV was my life when I was their age. So every generation will have different rules, but it's very hard to predict. I think we just go as it comes, and then we just have to adjust and learn the new rules.
Yeah, I would echo that and also say that I was so shocked to learn how YouTube is such a huge deal in the lives of especially folks under 20, I think. And they just use it in a way that maybe I'll Google like how to do eyeliner or something because I'm really incompetent at that on YouTube, but they're using it for everything, for entertainment, for a sort of diary, and it's fascinating to watch. And I think we do just have to keep an eye on platforms as they evolve and what comes up next.
Wait, I think we should do a research group. Raise your hand if you watch, let's say, 3 or more YouTube videos a day.
Oh, okay.
1 YouTube video a day? Interesting.
Wow, okay, interesting. And do you ever go on Facebook? Okay, there's some. All right. Okay. Thank you. This is very scientific research for me.
I think you had a question up there.
I just wanted to say thank you for your experience and insight. It was very interesting to listen to and motivational. And speaking on that, I wanted to know, outside of being focused on your business, how do you stay strong in such a cruel world? Because we're so inundated with so much negativity, especially on social media. And I personally find it very hard as an empathetic person to kind of separate myself and stay focused.
Wow, that is such a great question, and I think a really important one. I found it hard for a while when I was at my previous job, having literally the newsroom was surrounded by gigantic flat screen TVs with CNN, CNBC, MSNBC on all day. So it was literally in my face all day. You don't want to ignore the news, obviously. You need to be following what's happening. But you do need to practice self-care, by turning it off sometimes. Do not bring your phone with Twitter, with whatever you use to get your news, into bed with you, leave it in another room. I just think we all need to be much smarter about how much we consume.
And setting those boundaries.
Yeah, set boundaries for yourself. Know that, you know, you can watch the news for half an hour, but then you want to put on Real Housewives, and that is fine too.
That is an excellent night.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, although that can also be full of turmoil, as we all know. But I think, to be completely serious, I do think that just setting yourself boundaries like that is really, really important.
Maria, do you want to address that question? I think it's interesting.
I would say follow your instinct. There are days that I'm excited to wake up in the morning and go on Instagram and see what's going on and go and check out the news. And there are days that I've had a really tough day at work and I go back home and I really don't want to hear anything or receive any further information, and it would be, I just don't want to go on Instagram for the next 24 hours. This is how I feel. And you just have to follow your instinct and see how you feel at any point in time and go with your gut.
Do you guys ever do like a cleanse, like drop the phone for 24 hours? Ever try anything like that?
I tried. It didn't work out very well.
I know, I think about it a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any more questions?
Hi guys, this question is for Maria. As someone who's founded and grown your own business, from day one, the people that are your support inevitably won't always be there later down the line.
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
Oh, sure. The people that are there as your support from day one when you're growing the business will unfortunately sometimes inevitably not be there later down the line. Do you have any best practices or tips for how you handle that transition both personally and from a business perspective?
That is a very good question, because I do treat my team as a family, and there are people that I see more than I see my family, so it's really hard when someone leaves, and it's one of the most challenging things for me because I would take things personally. But what I do, I try to turn this into a positive and say, I've had this person give it their all to me and my business for a few years. Now they're moving on. This is an opportunity for me to bring someone else. The business has grown, and I can get some fresh blood and a fresh perspective. And I would say 9 out of 10 times, I end up finding someone who is more suitable for that position and that level of the growth of the business. And it's always a great thing. It's sad, and I do take it personally, but at the end, it turns into a positive element for the growth of the business.
Thank you.
I think we have time for one more question. All right. Well, that's it. Thank you guys so much for being here.
Thank you.